sketchyGOichie.
Hey all, how you guys doing? Welcome to another sketchyGOichie. I am your host, Roger Andrews, host, illustrator, graphic designer, and I'm jumping all the way into this one. It is, of course, a portrait of Hugh Jackman as Logan, aka Wolverine from the X-Men series. And this is in that series of, if you've seen any of my previous videos on this subject matter, series of portraits of pop culture icons. And the process is as follows. I take a series of photographs, and I either in Photoshop or directly in Procreate, the app here on the iPad. I'll take a collection of photos and I will sort of essentially photo manipulate them, meaning I may take a head from one photo and a body from another, and then maybe some hands, and I'll compose them all together. And in doing so, I will make a pleasing composition, at least what I deem pleasing, and then I just render. So on the zoomed in shot, clearly I've already kind of started laying out the hair and then working on the facial features of Hugh as Logan, and obviously tightening up his beard. And then as we zoom out here, I want you to note that the majority of the work that I focus in on in terms of the detail, in terms of capturing the likeness of the actor or whoever the subject is obviously it's primarily focused in on the face and the hair, particularly in and around the eyes. Obviously the eyes, windows to the soul and all that, but they are crucial to capturing the likeness of any subject matter that you're doing in portrait form. And that could go for family members, that could go for strangers, but if you're working from photo reference, you want to capture those eyes as accurately as possible. And if you're rendering like I am, literally right on top of this sort of photo collage, you definitely have to have at least somewhat of a grasp of anatomy and somewhat of a grasp on how to render hair and how to render facial features and all that stuff to make it look accurate, particularly in the style that I'm rendering in, which is kind of this sort of, how best to describe it, this sort of line art style that I'm rendering in. It's almost like an ink drawing. It actually kind of would apply well to, those who are tattoo artists. It's the same sort of problem solving that I'm doing with the line art as it relates to capturing the likeness, A, and B, working from a photo. I imagine this probably, in the end, when this is complete, would probably make a pretty decent template for a tattoo artist. And I think it would look good on skin because it is so contrasty. It's got such, deep black. And then I imagine the areas where there are no rendering would be obviously where the skin would show through. I'm not sure why I'm focusing on photography. Maybe I'm getting ready for the new season of Ink Master, which is a show I'm absolutely fascinated with. Even though I have zero tattoos, I'm incredibly fascinated with the tattoo world and that level of artistry that it takes to essentially ink on human skin. It's incredibly impressive to me. But anyways, back to this one. So as you can see, a lot of focus on the hair, a lot of focus on the facial expression. There's a point in time here when I take away the photograph, you can kind of see that the essential elements are there. Essential elements, by that I mean, making sure his expression, the sort of the anger and the expression are there, making sure the flow of the hair is right. You can see me sort of blocking in the black shapes. In hair, yes, it is indeed tricky. Yes, I have sort of touched on it in other videos, and I'll continue to touch on it because it is tricky, even for me. I mean, I've been rendering human characters for decades now, and when I draw someone new, it is tricky, and knowing how to kind of make the hair look like it's got not movement so much as it's got life. It's got a lively quality to it. It's tricky, and it does take a lot of practice, but you'll get it. So here I'm kind of zooming out so you can see. I'm trying to add in some of the other outer touches. I'm quickly sort of laying down the lines that represent the rest of the body, the hands, the arms, the the blades coming out of his fists, the musculature, the texture of the shirt and the belt, and all of those elements I'm trying to capture with line, and in doing that, it's really just sort of the line weights have to vary a bit, and by that I mean the thickness of the line. And so oftentimes for me, the best way to capture that is to have the thickest line be be in the most shadowed area, meaning away from the light. So there's that little crease there where his bicep meets his forearm, and that arm in the foreground. You see that's the densest part of the line, because I feel as though like that would be the most shadowed area. Same thing, that sort of crease where his shoulder meets his back there on the left side. And then the fun part too is adding little subtle details like the hair on his chest. The way I rendered that allows for some, to kind of give the way the pectoral muscle kind of is defined. But I'm really closing it out here. I mean, I've pretty much captured sort of the texture of the steel in the blades, the hair texture on his hair and his body and his chest. And because so much of him is light, I thought I chose to do a dark background. I just, on another layer underneath the line art, I just simply created a sort of a scratchy sort of pencil, and just kind of gave it sort of a regular dark background. And that is that. That's all there is to it. Just a ton of practice. Added a little effect there of the, as you can see here, the sort of the highlights, the sort of the glint of light reflecting off of his blades. And there you have it, Logan. So as always, sketchyGOichie, which to me means live your moment. Happy sketching, y'all. And again, feel free to subscribe and definitely post your comments. Peace.